Next up on our list of builds to test for the 3.13 League Start is the Bleed Bow Gladiator. If you're looking for that standard archer playstyle, but you feel like most of the ranger builds that you've played before are a little bit too squishy, then this is probably the one that you want to give a shot. The defenses are top tier, the clear is extremely good, single target can scale quite well with gear, and this is just an overall good archer build. It's one of the only archer builds that you can actually play as a League Start without hating yourself. So we've updated this build quite heavily. The leveling trees are significantly different than what they used to be, and this should give you a bit easier time to actually League Start with this build so that you don't have all those issues of having no damage very early on. We have focused specifically on the Gladiator Ascendancy this time around. We're skipping the Champion for the meantime. I may update this later in 3.13 to have the Champion hardcore version as well, but for right now we are going to focus on the Gladiator. Now this is a bleed build, and it does base all of its damage off of the bleed mechanic. Bleed is a physical damage over time ailment, and if you do work on scaling this bleed quite high, you can get some pretty solid damage. Now the Gladiator Ascendancy has this cool thing that allows you to get these bleed pops, which cause enemies that are bleeding to explode when they die. Now the cool thing about this is that it both removes on death effects, so if you've ever had a problem with porcupines blowing up and killing you, this removes that completely, and it also does help with some clear. It's a very satisfying build, one of the best archer style builds to play for a League Start. Now let's take a look a little bit more in depth at what we've got going. Hey there gamers, remember, if you enjoy my content, make sure that you like this video. Also, a huge percentage of you, I'm talking like 75% or more, are still not subscribed to the YouTube channel. So make sure that you subscribe so you can get these videos right in your feed. Now, without further ado, let's get back to the video. Alright boys, so remember there is a path of building in the description down below that has all the updated information for this. It's got the leveling trees, it's got a little bit of notes. However, this is going to be one of the builds that I probably do a full build guide update for in 3.13, so look forward to that. Now, this build, as I said, is pretty powerful, especially for leveling since we've updated these trees. Keep in mind that I really don't push these builds too far. We're testing and making sure that the leveling is very solid. I already know that this build works quite well in the end game. We haven't really done very much with our gear. I'm using some straight up trash, boys. Like, some of these items are pretty bad. Like, this is literally just life and some little resists. It makes me a little sad to even look at some of this gear, like especially this. Either way, this build does quite well with clear. It has pretty respectable single target. However, until you do upgrade to a better bow, I mean, this bow is pretty sad looking, to be honest with you. The single target can be a little bit lacking. I am right now only on a 4-link puncture, so the single target isn't amazing yet. It does get better with a better bow, and once you get the Lioneye jewel, it is significantly better. As you might know if you know about this build, there is a really good spot here where you can put a Lioneye jewel. It converts all of these nodes here into bow nodes, which makes our damage go through the roof because there's a lot of good bleed bow nodes here. We are going to just show you a little bit of mapping. It's not going to be anything special. This is just a tier 2 haunted mansion. Like I said, we haven't done very much in flashback because we've been really focusing on leveling up. This build did quite well. There is one thing to know about this build. You do have to stay on top of your bow. If you look in the path of building, you will see in the notes there is a section specifically talking about how to craft a bow as you level up. Make sure that as you are leveling up, you do replace your bow. Probably every 10 to 15 levels will feel best. But you can kind of see about the bleed pops that I was talking about a little bit earlier. When you do get the bleed pops going, the clear on this build starts feeling quite good. It is a clear build. Like I said, there is some single target that it's got. It's not the best single target until you get a better bow, but I mean, we're doing quite well right now. We just hit maps. I'm level 67. This is a level 69 map. I think I've only done 3 ascendancies at the moment. If you do need more single target damage, you can drop down these ballista totems that use ensnaring arrow. Ensnaring arrow makes the enemies act as if they're moving, which bleeds do triple damage while you're moving. So very, very powerful build, especially later on once you get the good bleed bow with the the Elder mod, as well as like a Rislotha's coil and all that kind of stuff. So if you're looking for that classic archer playstyle, but you don't want something that's so like insanely squishy like rangers typically are, this might be a good choice for you. Now, I want to speak about the new leveling trees just a little bit because I have updated these quite a bit. The new leveling tree does get quite a bit more damage early on. The previous tree that I used mainly relied on that Lioneye's jewel because this was like it was like a middle of the league build. It wasn't something that you were using for league start. However, the new tree focuses on getting damage early. Now, as I said, in the path of building, these leveling trees are in there, so you can just follow those and it will be up to date. But we do grab a lot more bow nodes, a lot more damage nodes very early on. The bleed nodes very early make it quite good. Once you do start scaling up to around 100% bleed chance, which you get around your second ascendancy point, you really will start feeling the excessive clear speed. It's very, very good for that. Bossing can be a little bit slow if you don't update these bows. Remember that. There is a recipe, like I said. It's simply going to be a blacksmith's whetstone, a blue or yellow rustic sash, and the bow that you want. That's how I crafted this one. I honestly do need to get a better bow than this. They're not too tough to get crafting yourself. Plus, we are going to be getting harvest crafting back, so keep that in mind. Harvest crafting might make this quite a good build if harvest crafting allows you to make the bow very easily, because there's a lot of, say, like cluster jewels that are very good for this build, and harvest crafting will definitely make those much more easy to obtain. So since we are getting harvest crafting back, this might be quite a good build to do your league start as. Now, I talked about that jewel a little bit before. There is something you can do for that jewel if you're, say, in solo self-found, or maybe you just want to be able to farm it very early on. If you go to the mudflats here, so we'll go to the coast and then we'll run over to the mudflats. Let's go find her. It's this unique mob over here that drops the quest piece that allows you to open the door. This mob, the Dishonored Queen, unhonored, what was I thinking? This mob here has a chance to drop the divination card called the Lion, and that divination card will give you a random Lioneye's item. Now, there are quite a few items from that set that can be useful, but you can just walk back into the Crewy Fortress, make a new instance, run back in here and farm her if you want to do that. Now, I personally don't 100% recommend you do this, but you can if you want to. It's really not a hard farm. She drops it relatively often. It's not all the time, but you can get the chest piece, which is what I'm using. You can get the jewel. You can get a bow that's pretty decent for early on. The boots are okay. You can use them as like a curse on hit boots if you want, but that's pretty much it that you're going to get from that item. If you have a day or so and you want to farm it very early on because you want to push this build, probably a good idea if that's what you want to do. I personally think it's fine to just get into maps, start gathering some currency, and then buy the pieces that you need. Like I said, I bought this Lioneye's Vision for like a couple chaos. It's not very expensive whatsoever. This, and if you can get it 5-linked, and then you just get a decent Fizzbow, it doesn't even have to be amazing or with any bleed mods on it. If you can get those together, you should be more than fine. All right, boys, that's going to be it. Bleed Bow Gladiator went pretty well. I think that the leveling is much better now. We are going to be moving on to most likely Ball Lightning Archmage next. That's going to be over at twitch.tv/BigDucks. Make sure that you follow over there so you can see when I go live. But yeah, remember, there is a path of building for this build in the description. Check it out. Make sure that you try this one if you're looking for that classic archer playstyle. Just be ready to either farm the divination cards for the Lioneye's Jewel early on. If you can get that plus the chest piece, you should be set for the end game. We're going to have harvest crafting, remember that, so you should be able to craft like a bow and some cluster jewels pretty easily with harvest crafting. At least we hope. We'll have to see what kind of actual harvest crafting we get back when they put it back into the game. Remember, guys, if you have further questions beyond anything that I've said in this video, make sure that you join my Discord. It's in the link down below. There's a PoE questions section. There's a bunch of helpful people in there. All of the links to my guides should be in there. Bunch of good information, bunch of good people, and you can just come hang out with your boy. Remember, guys, if you enjoy my content, like this video so that more people can see it. Also, subscribe to the YouTube channel for more content similar to this, and stay safe out there in Rick class. And I'll see you guys in the next video.